All right, so ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Belgier Vestige. Jesse, would you like to do the intros?
Of course. Spawning in the upper left-hand corner, we have the Blue Terran representing Edification Empire, currently one game down. Ladies and gentlemen, his name is Ceonsamea! And opposing him in the bottom right-hand corner, representing the Last Resort, currently one game up, one game away from qualifying for the UK Pro League group stages. His name is Rotcod!
Now, I am very excited about this, and apparently, watching The Apprentice is...
I believe that was causing the lag. I believe his mother
I see.
was
Must have been
streaming
like that
Apprentice.
It seems so. Rocco's mum apparently watching The Apprentice on something like iPlayer, which caused the lag. I will say I have the same problem with my... I get lag if someone else in the house is watching YouTube.
Wow. I regularly watch YouTube while playing and streaming, and I love fiber optics. Have I mentioned that?
You have mentioned that, but I'm fine like if I'm playing normally, unless it's League of Legends, in which case I lag horrifically. But Starcraft, it's fine. However, if I'm in a call with someone, it's barely understandable with whatever I say.
That's nothing to do with the internet. That's merely your accent.
Now that is racist, maybe? I'm not sure. That's very possibly racist, and I'm very possibly offended.
That's fine by me. I'm sure we'll still be friends, because let's face it, you need my wallet.
It's true. I ain't saying I'm a gold digger. Well, at the moment we can see Ceon going for fairly standard again. He's getting a reactor on that barracks. Sorry, I almost said factory. Not sure what I was thinking there. So he's getting a reactor on that barracks so he can get out those few extra marines, and when he does build either a factory or a starport, he can easily switch into the double medevac or the double widow mine / helium production.
Yep, just gives Terrans a lot of options early game. This is the same build that Ceon went with last game. It allows him to... It delays the first Reaper, but of course it allows him to go double Reaper straight off, which again is guaranteeing you a scout into the main, since you can approach from two paths. Although Belgier Vestige, not the biggest area to jump up into, still more than enough to make sure you get into the main. And again, just going straight into the expand. So both players repeating their build from game number one. Looks like their standard opening versus their opponent's race.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. Rotcod just about to finish up his mothership core, and hasn't been spending huge amounts of chronos on that warp gate, so just sticking with macroing up at the moment rather than going for that ridiculously fast aggression that Protoss players have been so fond of in the past, but instead just chronoing out his probes with his lovely chrono booster on its way across the map to see what it can see and to see if it can kill anything very nice.
I'm also, while we cast this, I'm keeping an eye on the chat with Des proclaiming not only that he won it for Shibby, but also that he's the best female UK, and Boombox being confused about whether or not he's actually female or not, because he is, of course, called Ashley. And,
it's Ashley with a Y, not with an I-H.
I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
I am, but I think we have to spoil it. Des is a male, and best female UK player is Moomin, because she's, our only female UK player since Cadenza left.
That is true. But still, a joy to watch. Rotcod getting down that forge, and of course, a Stargate. So Rotcod is changing things up a little bit early game. And do you know what? This could be incredibly effective, because as we saw last game, he was very, very fond of hallucinating air units, as he's doing again for scouting. So there's certainly the possibility that Ceon will once again expect that this is the standard build from last game and not be checking for the Stargate with Fleet Beacon going down. Wow, that's quite early, Chris.
As much as I can hope that this is for Carrier Rush, it's probably going to be for range, let's be honest. Or for Tempest. But for the moment, like you said, we saw some of this in the WCS Challenger League qualifiers, which were amazing, where players, however, instead of Phoenix, they would be hallucinating oracles for scouting, and would hallucinate 2 oracles at a time, send them into the natural and the main at the same time, and basically cause mass panic. And he did that 2 games in a row. First game he won, first game he lost. Then he actually went Stargate in the 3rd game, built oracles and killed him.
That is fantastic. Already I'm sick of hallucinated oracles, forcing me to waste photon overcharge. Oh my god, Techa! Techa, look at the production.
Carriers! I am so happy.
That is a
Rotcod's
carrier.
just playing to me at the moment.
The last resort, Rotcod, going carriers in their semi-final of the UK Pro League 2nd qualifier. Carriers could win him the game. Carriers could be the reason he qualifies for UK Pro League. But Ceon's going in for an early attack here.
Out! Yep, very early attack, dropping Widow Mites over the force fields at the moment, having to pull back the Zealots. The photon overcharge has been activated, but first Widow Mite does get a shot off on the winner on the field. He needs to be careful. That second one is there. Photon overcharge is cleared out off, and Rotcod has held it. He did lose a couple workers, but he has actually held this attack, and because of this, the first carrier is about to complete. He's getting the carriers of research as well for the speed of interceptors, and he's building a second one as well. This is a carrier build, and he's building a second Stargate where we'll likely see him expand as soon as he feels he is safe. This is I am very happy. Rotcod's just playing to me at this point, I feel.
He's just showing off in front of you. He knows how much you love it, but as well as that, playing it really, really solidly. This isn't a player that just decided, oh, let's get carriers because it'll be funny. This is a player that wants to be qualified, that knows how serious an opponent Ceon is, and knows how good carriers can be. He was prepared to defend that early game. You can even see him adding more cannons, and now with that carrier ready, he should have enough to defend against here. But he was prepared to defend that, and he has this continued build to continue on. Second Stargate just finishing up. Shield upgrades on the way as well to help out, as well as that +1 air weapons. And we even have the Twilight Council going down as well for 2 reasons. Obviously, you want to continue the Protoss Shield unit, but you also want to go into Templar tech with this, because you want Archons to help support your ground army and keep those carriers alive. You can also use High Templar Storms to zone your opponents away from the carriers, make sure they don't get underneath them.
I was absolutely about to say, Storms are way more important than Archons in this situation, because believe it or not, this is similar to a strategy that existed in the HOTS beta, only instead of carriers, it was just pure Tempest. Like nothing but Tempest. Then in the Wings, then in HOTS release, it became Void Rays. Now apparently it's carriers, where it's basically sentries and walling off with cannons, just making sure you're safe, mostly against Zerg usually, but I will stop for a second. There is a drop in the main base. Carriers have been revealed, but they're countering the drop here. Sentries have already died here. This is going to be quite risky. There's the photon overcharge. Carriers having to pull back. This is not going that well for Rotcod. He is actually fighting this back, though. Carrier staying alive. Nice micro there, keeping himself alive. Third carrier just popped out, and wow, he just killed up all the medevacs, so there's not even any retreat there. So really nice play there by Rotcod, saving himself with the carriers, and we're finally seeing Viking production starting for Ceonsamea.
There is one reason that failed quite as badly as it did. The lack of stim. Ceon timed that just ever so slightly poorly and landed before he had stim. Literally 5 seconds later, he would have had stim. With that, the carriers were actually able to keep pace with the Marines while the interceptors killed off the medevacs and bio. So although he lost sentries, his carriers remained unharmed, whereas that drop was definitely intended to try and snipe some carriers.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. But to continue with what I was saying earlier, the build in HOTS beta was basically to defend your base with cannons and then just start massing up the air armies and expand as slow as you like. Make sure you're comfortable, make sure it's safe. As you can see, this expansion, cannons are going to finish way before this expansion is even halfway done. It's making sure it's safe. And behind it, you just build huge amounts, and then you use High Templar to kill all the ground units. When you're against Zerg, it was used to kill Hydras. When you're against Terran, it's going to be used to kill the Marines and to kill massive amounts of Vikings, because they do like to bunch up together. So High Templar, very much more useful in this scenario. And there was a variant where you used DTs, and that was the worst thing ever, being ridiculously annoying for the opponent.
I'm trying to decide the best way to go as the Terran against this. Obviously, Ceon doing well in, with the reacted starport, getting out those Vikings. But I almost favour, like, a complete switch into Sky Terran with nothing but Vikings and Banshees and battle cruisers. Just because I'd love to see that happen.
I agree, but the issue with that is Air Toss is so much better than Air Terran. That is
I know,
the
but it
issue
would
with
look
that.
really cool, which I feel like is the most important thing when playing StarCraft.
I would completely agree that that's the most important thing. Rotcod has actually had a second Stargate for a while, but it's only just started using it. And Ceon going for a pretty good strategy here of building ghosts. He wants to try and at least get some EMPs down, try and kill, or at least snipe some High Templar. He's going to engage this third base now, going to try to deal with it. Is Storm ready? Storm is ready, getting the Vikings! Marines being forced back, cannons holding off the army, enough time for the carriers to get there and the High Templar to get there and deal with it. This is the exact strategy from the Hot Spater, just with carriers instant pissed.
Yeah, Rotcod playing this very, very sensibly and very, very strongly. We have air weapons level 3 on the way. We do have that ability for shields level 2, although right now does not have the gas to spare, with wanting to keep that carrier production up, trying to chrono out more, even a third Stargate being added, so he's not going to have the spare gas for that for a while yet, and in fact, to get that, he's throwing down a fourth base at this point, simply because he wants that extra gas. Nothing to do with minerals, he has more than enough minerals for pretty much the rest of the game, but he needs that gas, and he needs it badly to keep up the production. And what that fourth base will essentially allow you to do is lose an engagement, not horrifically, because of course the Terran can still just then roll through you, but so long as you don't lose it too badly, you will have time to keep up. So just a little bit of lag again from Rotcod. I assume, that episode of The Apprentice is finished, and, she's started to stream the second one.
Yep, absolutely. This is really, this is pretty much exactly what's going on. And, yep, Rotcod not happy, unfortunately. Oh, yeah, that would be quite scary if this game were to break. But we do have resume from replay, so it's not too bad. And this is just what I'd like to point this out. Rotcod is throwing down what would normally be considered an excessive amount of carriers. Not carriers, cannons. Well, this is an excessive amount of carriers. Normally, the expected amount of carriers in a game is 0, so this is an excessive amount of carriers. But this is an excessive amount of cannons, but it's ideal for this strategy, because you want to hold back your opponent until your units can get there. So if you can keep your base alive and get that little extra damage, that many cannons are absolutely necessary.
Yeah, and as well as that, although carriers do, they still cost a fair chunk of money. Once again, the carrier High Templar is a lot more gas intensive than it is mineral intensive overall, so you will have those extra minerals to throw down on static defense without hurting your production cycles. So it's certainly a wise move to do. And I like this from Ceon. He's trying not to engage head on. When he realised that Rotcod was over at that right hand side base, he pulled back, switched over to the left hand side, and he's going to try and take it down there. Good snipe on the Ghost. And he's going to get in here, but there's a lot of cannons, and the carriers are already making their way there, and could potentially catch Ceon's army from the side like so.
Here we, yeah, indeed, did get a very nice storm on the Vikings there. It's taking a lot of damage. The Marines doing a really good job of killing off the interceptors, and this is the ideal counter pretty much, using those killing off those interceptors with that many Marines. Not enough cannons here. The High Templar not able to get the good enough storms. Needs to focus on the Marines rather than the Vikings in this situation, which is not something that you're really used to doing. More High Templars being warped in, but they don't have the energy. More interceptors are being produced, but there aren't that many on the field at the moment. This Bio army is pushing forward and doing so much damage. These carriers have all taken huge amounts of damage each. He's retreating behind another set of cannons though, so he's gonna stay alive. And as you said, he has lost a base, but he's still in the position to keep himself alive. There's a High Templar up at the 4th base, and while he's in his natural, he's going to be able to rebuild his interceptors, but that is a horrible thing to lose that 4th base. He is now a good 80 supply behind, but you said wondering what the best thing to do is against this. This is it. This many Marines, because the Marines are easily just able to kill the interceptors. Once the interceptors are gone, the attack is over.
Absolutely, and really, we have to say, really good ghost control from Ceon. Just sniping those High Templar so quickly. There was only maybe 2, maybe 3 storms got off, and that was a lot of High Templar to lose, especially when you're losing a base like that, because again, you're losing essentially 6 probes worth of gas every cycle. Luckily for Rotcod, he was prepared with that 4th base, so as predicted, he's still able to stay in this game, but that was definitely a tight, tense moment for Rotcod. If that push had been able to continue, if he hadn't perhaps killed off all the Medivacs so that there was no healing for that bio army, we could have seen Rotcod lose. So, good feedbacks there, but that High Templar will once again be sniped. We have another small group of High Templars just for over to the right, but again, this is a small army for Rotcod, only 132 supply, and pretty much all of it carriers. And this is a huge army for Ceon with that 200-200. Looks like he wants to skip around this 4th base and head in straight for the natural, which could potentially be a winning move.
Indeed,
We'll have to wait and
Ceon's
see.
been playing this so well. He's just got to situations where he's just hit Rotcod and just gone, if I engage here, I'm going to be eating storms, I'm going to be stuck in a choke, and I'm going to be taking huge amounts of damage. Nice storm there by Rotcod. But, so instead, he's just going, yeah, I'm just going to walk around this. It's like building an impossible death trap about 3 feet wide.
Something else, in fact, we should talk about, because we've been talking an awful lot about Rotcod's economy, because of course he has carriers, and carriers are exciting. But have you seen the amount of command centers Ceon is building? Ceon has his entire
really
half
cool.
of the map, and he's about to start taking Rotcod's half of the map, because why not?
And because he can, Rotcod's playing so passively. Like, this is what a Zerg usually does to counter this. The problem is, this isn't a Zerg. The problem is, Rotcod's not playing against a Zerg. He can't. The Zerg have to engage into cannons and melee them. Marines can sort of attack them en masse at range. And really nice leashing here by Rotcod. This is amazing carrier control right now. But as we said, it's not a good thing to be fighting here. Rotcod is going to struggle to break through this. He needs more splash damage, and carriers, well, they don't provide that. Marines, in this case, are the perfect counter. I'm not sure why there are so many Marauders in this force. I think he might be expecting a surprise switch into Colossus.
Yeah, and they can also take just a little bit of tanking, but most importantly about this, oh, never mind, we have a huge engagement here. Stim coming in. Good storm, good use of the feedback as well. Again, more storms. The carry's doing a lot of damage now. Ceon falling rapidly in supply. He's got a lot of hurt Marines, and he's going to have to back off away from this position. He does not want to keep up that engagement. So Rotcod coming off the best there, which is exactly what he needs, because he needs that 4th base down again, because this is what I was talking about. With Ceon stood there, he was about to become very, very gas-starved, because, as we can see in the main base, the 2 gases there have now been completely mined, and he was about to drop down to just 2 bases worth of gas. This will allow him to keep up that gas production, allow him to keep remaking High Templars and carriers, and finally hit that 200-200 supply mark that he's been looking for all game long.
Absolutely, and that many carriers is a ridiculous amount of carriers. And I would like to point out, we have said all this, that High Templar and all that are very gas intensive. I'd like to point out how mineral intensive carriers actually are, but this is amazing. Great storms here by Rotcod. Carrier's gonna be able to clear it up, just so much damage. I would like to point out, do you actually know how much damage carriers do in compared to other units?
I'm actually unaware. I know the nice count, but I don't know those numbers as this base of Ceon is about to disappear.
Yeah, that's gone. Well, I'd like to point out, each interceptor does the same damage as a stalker and shoots twice. So each carrier carries 8 interceptors, all out at once, all do the same damage as a stalker and shoot twice. So in that first burst, you have done a ridiculous amount of damage if you're using carriers.
Well, as a Protoss, I'd like to apologise for my race, but we do have Ceon just doing this nice counter at the 4th base of Rotcod, but Rotcod not even bothered. He's like, nah man, I've got carriers and I've also got your base. As he pushes in to the natural expansion of Ceon and starts to tear everything apart. We have a lot of Ravens there. Good Seeker missile usage! Oh, that's a lot of explosion.
Oh wow, it was enough. Seeker missile nerf, not enough in this case. So much damage done there. Storms going down on Marauders in this case to try and deal with it. There's a lot of carriers left. but I would like to see Rotcod throw down some more cannons to defend the rest of his bases, but the thing is, he hasn't got any minerals left. He's been spending them all on carriers. Like as I said earlier, we pointed out how much gas intensive this build is. We'd like to point out how mineral intensive it is as well, because each carrier, every time it's building an interceptor, is spending 25 minerals, and interceptors are dying left, right, and centre here.
Yeah, now this is really, really close play from both. Rotcod unable to break quite through Ceon, has taken out his 4th and 5th base, but of course Ceon has taken out the 4th base of Rotcod again, which means we are once again down to just 4 assimilators worth of production, and we have one carrier just about managing to hold off the last of Ceon's bio that was attempting to shut down gas mining at the natural. And with you saying, pointing out quite rightly that we do have carriers being very mineral intensive, there is now only one base mining minerals for Rotcod, so it's going to be an incredibly long time before he gets up quite to that 200 massive units again, and there's a lot of Vikings out for Ceon.
Need a lot of Vikings out for Ceon, and this is going to be a good engagement. One carrier goes down instantly.
Oh, another Seeker missile coming in!
They may escape from it. Yep, do escape from it. Seeker missiles are now effectively rubbish. So Ceon is going to pull back here, just heal up his few Marines, and Vikings just annihilating whatever that was. I blinked and missed it. But here we go. Carrier's going to try and engage here, going to leash, kill off as many Marines as possible. They want to get a good engagement here. There was a nice EMP on those carriers, getting some nice shield removals, almost hitting the Templar. Very nice dodge, keeping them alive. And he needs to get rid of those Vikings somehow. Rotcod is in a tough position. He can still win, but he's in a ridiculously tough position. Ceon is already just retaking all the bases he lost. You pointed out how many command centers he has. Every time he loses one, he just flies another one there and just keeps building.
Oh, he does indeed, and he's still got plenty more behind this. Of course, you start to hit this point where your mules are mining out all the minerals. Even the 4th base is starting to get a little bit low. Although Rotcod's, good guy Rotcod says, well, I'm going to help you out with that by killing all of your mules, SCVs, and your command center. Don't want you mining out all those minerals. So a nice help there from the Protoss player. And again, we're now in this situation where neither player feels particularly comfortable straight on engaging the other.
Indeed, I think Rotcod wants to be the one to engage more here. He needs to get some good storms, and actually here he comes. He's moving in. The ghost did die down before the storm's there, and the storm, so much damage done to the Vikings. The interceptors do take a bit of friendly fire damage, as they do from storms. There comes Seeker missiles. He needs to get out of range of those as soon as possible. There go the storms. So much damage being done to these carriers. They do take a lot of damage. Only one of them actually dies, though, but a lot of them down to very low health, and a lot of interceptors have been killed off. Vikings still standing tall. There are Marines coming in from the low ground, doing little damage, but enough damage to annoy these carriers ridiculously. And there go the last Marine. That's the last anti-air for Ceon. So now these not Immortals, these Marauders are going to take a lot of damage. But unfortunately, Rotcod is now down to a grand total of 0 High Templar. That is not good, and he currently has 15 minerals, which are all being spent on interceptors.
His mineral count is very, very low. We do have a small group of Marines, a couple of Marauders, and a Ghost for Ceon, just hanging out at that untaken base of Rotcod's. So I'd like to see him try and do something with them rather than just leave them there. But of course, his focus is on trying to produce enough of an army to survive this.
Rotcod is actually taking a base up on the right, to try taking one of the nearly mined out base. But Ceon has definitely seen this and is moving in Vikings to deal with this. At the same time, though, Rotcod is annihilating Ceon's own base. But Rotcod doesn't even have enough minerals to fully reproduce interceptors right now. This base, however, is easily going to be stopped in its tracks. So Rotcod really struggling right now.
Yeah, Rotcod needs to take a base, and he needs to take it soon. Like I said, he's only got one base of mineral mining now, and that right now has 46 probes sat at it, because the probes are used everywhere else. In fact, he's only got that base as well for gas, because the gas at his expansion is mined out. So if Ceon can just continue to do this, continue to hold on, eventually he's going to get into a position where he takes out Rotcod's army, and Rotcod can't remake any of it.
This is a strange situation, though, because Rotcod is actually denying the mining of Ceon quite well. Oh god, Seeker missiles needs to get out of there. Does take the shot, but now the Marines doing a bit of damage. There's not really that many Marines. It's the Vikings he needs to worry about. He needs to kill them off as soon as possible. But the thing is, the supplies are actually surprisingly even. And Rotcod even in a supply lead to killing off the Vikings right now. If Rotcod has been denying them so well that Ceon hasn't been able to make enough Marines and Vikings to really counter these carriers. It's a really strange situation to be in, but Rotcod could actually take this by mineral starvation.
Well, that's where mules get you. You know, it's great to have this quick mineral income, but you do mine out those minerals a lot quicker. So he now has a third base that's not mining minerals, whereas, well, Rotcod is still just about, although he's pretty much done at that base as well. Both players desperately in need of just another base. Rotcod wanting a fourth, and also Ceon trying to move over to the left side and again take that base. Oh, those Seeker missiles so close!
Does take the damage, but the Vikings now, there's a lot of Vikings in this engagement, way more than usual. There's not going to be enough. Rotcod down to 4 carriers. Production, he is building carriers and he's building Tempest. I'm not sure that is a good move.
I'm not sure if there's anything else he can do at this point. His production is pretty low.
Good idea at this point. He does actually have a surprisingly large amount of minerals. I'm not sure where those came from.
He has been long-range mining from Ceonsamea 4.
He has, and he's just warping in like 3 zealots at a time because that's all the gateways he has. So he's just trying to get in as many zealots as possible, even though he has none. He's got another carrier now, so he's on 5 carriers and 1 Tempest. Oh, here's the engagement. The thing is, zealots, not great at being anti-air. 1 carrier goes down, back down to 4. These 2 engage the carriers, and there's the Tempest doing something.
Well, it's shooting 1 Viking.
It's definitely shooting. Nice ghost cloak there, and here we go. They're going to engage directly, and we're just seeing the dance of the carrier versus the Viking here. Carriers do get the burst damage, but the Vikings, huge amount of damage. Tempest actually being quite good. There we go, just kills off all the Vikings again. And the units see are now 1 ghost, and he doesn't really have many minerals left.
He has virtually nothing left. He has 1 base mining at the left-hand side with 6 SCVs at it and 1 mule, just having to use mules there essentially. If Rotcod can get over onto that left-hand side, shut that down, that's going to be GG, because there's literally going to be no way for Ceon to ever shoot the carriers. He's up to 6 Vikings and actually getting a Banshee as well.
Indeed, there is 1 more carrier somewhere. I'm not sure where it's gone. If I am correct. No, there's only 3 carriers left. Another one did die while I wasn't paying attention. So the question is whether 6 Vikings can beat that many carriers. But here we go. The Templar don't have enough for a storm. If they could, it could be game over at this point. But here's the engagement. Trying to focus it down. Zealots moving in to do nothing. They're trying to engage here. The carriers are on such... One of the carriers is such a help, but the other 2 are fresh carriers, doing as much as possible. He's denied the base. He's chased the expansion away. Another one is flying down to where Rotcod has a base, and he's just going to run into cannons. Rotcod even has enough minerals to build cannons at this point. He's warping in more High Templar. Rotcod is somehow going to take this game. It's 87 supply to 22. Rotcod killing off the expansion on Ceon, trying to go somewhere, but there's nowhere to go when you're fighting carriers. The expansion goes down, and Ceon has finally trying to take that same base again, but everything appears to be on fire. There's zealots there doing the damage. The zealots kill off the only mining worker, gonna kill off that mule as well. There's a big engagement though, the final engagement. Marines moving in, there are zealots here to support this, and there's the GG! And Rotcod qualifies for the UK Pro League Season 1.